Lisa Pierce from Upton County is joining us today. Will be at the state convention in June. She is running for one of the posts. She's going to run for the first vice chairman position, and she's got a lot of good things to say. We hope you'll enjoy this interview. Hi, and we've got Lisa Pierce with us today. She is going to be attending the state convention, and she's actually going to be running for one of the state offices. And let's get to know Lisa a little bit. Lisa, tell us, what part of the state do you live in, and what congressional district is that?
Awesome. I currently live in Upson County near Thomaston, Georgia. I'm in the third congressional district. Our congressman is Congressman Brian Jack, who I absolutely love. So we're very, very fortunate here, living here in Middle Georgia, but I've actually lived all over the state, from North Georgia to Middle Georgia. So I know the people of Georgia.
And you're actually, you live on a farm out there in Upson, right?
Correct. Yes, I do. We moved to Upson County about 5 or 6. I always get the dates wrong. 5 or 6 years ago. After 2018 is when we moved here, and my husband's originally from Middle Georgia, and we moved back to the area in 2018.
Awesome. Well, one of the
Yeah.
things we love to do on Editorial Interchange is we love to highlight local economies. And we don't do paid promotions, we do shout outs. And we want
Right.
all of our guests to offer a shout out to a locally owned business in their community. What would your local business be?
Well, a business that I spend a lot of money at, and people that I absolutely love, and they support the community. It's B&B Feed Store. They're here in Thomaston, Georgia, and they are fantastic. They're very customer oriented, and I love them to pieces.
Awesome. So if you're in the need of anything that a feed store might sell and you're in the Thomaston area, now you know where to go. Locally owned business. Please give them your business and support your local economy.
Awesome.
You're running for state's, what is it, first vice chairman, correct?
Correct. Correct.
All right. Now tell us what got you involved in state party politics, because that's a wild game. What got you involved in state party politics?
So I always will be honest. So the reason that I was involved was I kind of got shoved into it. It wasn't on my bingo card, to say the least. I mean, I'm in the middle of birthing season in our farm, and it wasn't really something that I was even thinking about doing. But I had some people who are local in the Middle Georgia area that just kept prodding me, and saying, Lisa, you have to run. We need people. They've seen what I've done here in our county, and they were like, Lisa, we need you to put your name in the hat. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I had no idea what I was jumping into, but I've been swimming ever since. So yeah, it's been a crazy ride for sure.
Well, that's quite an endorsement when you've got people that know you well and they're saying, I'm not really the one, you're the one. I think that's one of the
Right.
best endorsements you can get.
I agree with that. I mean, you can get all the endorsements from all the politicians, but to me, it's the family and friends and people in the community that believe in you, just based upon what you've done, and I appreciate them so much.
And what is the Republican Party like in Upson? Do you have quite a few people? Are people really engaged? Do you do a lot of outreach?
When I first started with the party, we only had like 2 or 3 people that were coming to the meetings, and the people that were coming were very, I don't know, I'll call them the go along to get along Republicans. And I just felt like once I started getting involved in the local politics and seeing what was happening in our local community, I couldn't sit back and just kind of let things happen. So I started reaching out to, in Signal and Telegram. And after 2020 happened, we were all kind of concentrated on the election integrity and what we could do. And, I really found out what was happening here locally. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So I couldn't be quiet. So I got really involved within our local party, and was elected chairwoman in like August of 22, and then that lasted until our till March of 23. And I decided not to run just because I had some other things going on with the farm. I had just retired from my job and walked away from my job more or less. And so I really wanted to kind of step away from that and get things going. And near the end of 2023, I had people just begging me, please, Lisa, we need you. 2024 is going to be super important. We're just not really meeting and we're not doing what we need to be doing. So I jumped back and in January of 2024, I literally took it over, took off, and I mean, we grew the party. We had over 45 members by the end of 2024. So for our county, we grew it by 500%. So super proud of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your elected officials in Upson, Thomaston, in that area, do they tend to be more Republican, or do you have a Democrat presence? What's the situation look like?
So our county is probably 85% Republican, and I'll use Republican. They do say there are, but unfortunately, a lot of our county commissioners were not acting like Republicans. And in fact, our chairman, um, he was running this last year, and after seeing everything that he was doing, he was not acting like a Republican. He was acting more like a Democrat, and they totalitarian kind of. I don't know. It was the old boy kind of network. Um, we really recruited a guy who had run for state representative, Dan Brew, and we pushed and pushed and pushed, and we were so blessed. Now he is our chairman of the board of commissioners. He's fantastic. He believes in election integrity. He believes in transparency. I mean, he's just a breath of fresh air. And he's like, look, I'm going to tape every meeting, every work session, everything. I want the people to be involved. And I can't tell you how thankful I am to have him. So
Great.
he's great.
Great story, and it's a testament to your work. Very good.
Yeah.
You're getting the right people in the right offices, it sounds like.
Absolutely. I can say that if the old chairman is actually a neighbor or still is a neighbor. He's not a fan of me right now, but I think we have to do what's right for the county, and he has actually seen how Dan has come in and made the changes that needed to be changed, and I think he's actually becoming a fan of Dan. So I think it's all thumbs up on our side.
Awesome. Hey, well, tell us, who is the most influential person in your life?
Well, I have to say it was and still will always be my father. My dad, he raised me to be strong, to be bold, and to be courageous. And he was somebody who came from nothing, nothing. I mean, he was an old farmer. He was a farmer from Tennessee, and he brought himself up and out of a family of 10, put himself through college, and he retired a multimillionaire. And I'm super super proud of my father. He was just a man of integrity, taught us right from wrong, and that he's somebody that I feel like I'm kind of continuing on his legacy because he always wanted to have a farm, and I was never raised on a farm. We were more the kind of the country club kind of family. But when I retired in 2022, we have our farm now, and I feel like I'm kind of continuing on his legacy.
What a great story. That ought to be a podcast in and of itself. What a great
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Well, let me ask you about Republican Party, the Georgia Republican Party specifically. What is the party doing right in your mind?
Um, okay. Um, So the state party itself or the local parties?
Well,
Or
the state party
um,
from the state perspective. If you go back and look at the general election, the last couple of general elections, with the constitutional officers, the legislature, are we doing something that you can identify and say, we're right on the money there?
um, can I be honest and say no?
You can.
So no. I think there's a lot of things. Okay, and I'm just going to go from my experience. Okay, okay. So last year was my first year as county chair. I had no idea, Steve, what I was doing, what I was supposed to be doing. We're in one of the most consequential elections ever, and I didn't know how to grow membership. I didn't know how to do anything. What's expected of me? What should I be doing? And, there was a chairwoman, Catherine James, that put together a program to help educate new chairs and stuff like that. And that was put on by an under 80 chair, and it grew tremendously. And that was helpful. But I think more importantly, we really needed like I really want to see more mentoring, more discussions, more best practices, a strategic kind of, plan. We didn't have a plan. And so because I've always been in corporate life and worked with strategic plans and business plans, I mean, I started working with my local chair people who were also brand new, and we put together a strategic plan to what do we need to do? Let's kind of scramble together. Let's bring in some good speakers in the area that we could, utilize. And I made a couple of trips up to Atlanta because there were no Trump signs, and this was before we had Trump signs, and we put out our own county money so that way we could have Trump signs to be able to go ahead and, push that forward. I did that a couple of times. I got signs for around 6 counties around us, and we put together just a really good strategic plan. And bottom line, to me, we can talk about growing membership. That's great and wonderful, but what's the election results look like? And what I can tell you is, if you compare 2020 to 2024, we grew our Republican votes by 3%, and our Democrat votes decreased 2.55%. So that's the kind of results that we can have, throughout the state if we put together a plan and really implement that plan and push that through. So it's something I'd love to see happen as far as the Georgia state goes.
So more structure and more education. Anything
Absolutely.
else within the party that you see as being an improvement that needs to be made?
Well, yeah, I can give you some more.
Please, please.
The other thing that I would like to see is the Georgia party to actually have a legislative plan prior to the legislative session starting. I know that this year they didn't come out until the beginning of the fourth week. That's not the way a true business should work. We should be meeting way before then, and we should have our plan implemented and already speaking to our legislators before they start the session saying, hey, this is what we want to see happen. You're Republicans, right? Okay. You want to be a Republican. This is what we're going to be working on. And I always use my farmer analogy in the sense that the way that you tame a bull is you put a ring through their nose and you pull it. Right now, unfortunately, our Georgia GOP is being pulled. We're the bull, and we're being pulled by the legislators. We need to flip that script. We need to be the ones pulling the legislators along, going, no, this is how it's going to be. You want to be a Republican, this is how it's got to be, and this is what we want to work on. It shouldn't be having the governor telling us that we're not going to have any election integrity bills put on his desk. No, that's not the way it should work. We're just in an upside down world. And I would love to see the Republican Party, the Georgia Republican Party, to have a little bit of chutzpah and be able to, push the legislators. So
You know,
that's another thing I'd like to see.
I just had an interview the other week, and one of the things that came out of it was it's amazing how many initiatives that 99% of the constituents would go for, and I'm talking about Republican constituents, would
Hmm.
go for. And if you polled them, they would all say, get on this, do it first thing. And you can't even get it out of committee in the state
Mm-mm.
legislature.
No, but that's a lot because of Senate Bill 221, and the legislator is not responsible to the people. They are responsible, or they're, getting all their funding from the lobbyists, and they're getting it from Brian Kemp. So how do we have no say whatsoever? I mean, and I know I was down at one of the district forums, and the legislators were up there going, "Oh, this was a great legislative session. We did so great." And I got up there and I said, "Well, I think it was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was so anti-family and pro corporation cover. It. I mean, how can you even say you did great when they passed Senate Bill 144? I mean, you're providing cover for companies that are poisoning the families of Georgia. That is not a win for me. And I just don't understand why there's not more outrage than there should, than what's happening right now.
Well, this kind of leads to the question: what do you expect of Republican officials, elected officials? Now, you've kind of touched on this, but if you said, as part of the party, we need to come up with a statement on what we expect of our Republican elected officials, what would that be?
But to act like Republicans, to
What does that mean? What does tell it?
to me, that what that means, that you need to start working for the citizens of the state of Georgia. If this doesn't look like less taxes, it's not pro family, and you're providing cover for businesses, that shouldn't be your whole thrust. You should be working for the people. If this is good for the people of Georgia, then that's where we should be working. And the fact that they were like um, declaring a win on the smidge of the tax relief, that's embarrassing. And every legislator that's getting up there beating their chest about that should be embarrassed. So they need to start working for the people, decreasing the taxes, doing what's right for the people of Georgia. And until they can do that, they need to sit down and declare themselves Democrats and not declare themselves Republicans.
Yeah, a rollback of $1 billion sounds like a big number on its face, but then when you
Right.
realize that's 1 billion out of, what was it, 12 billion or something like
Yes.
that they had. So it's like,
Ridiculous.
yeah, you're just talking about fractions at that point.
A hundred
And
percent.
and then, of course, as a constituent, you have to ask, all right, well, where's the other 11 billion going? What are we doing with that?
Right.
And I guess that would really fall on the party, because the party is the thrust of the Republican movement, right?
Right. Absolutely. And we've got to start taking control of this state. And I know I hear some people talk about the accountability rule, and look, I'm all for it. And I know it's been said, well, we better get some lawyers. Well, last time I checked, our chairman actually is a lawyer. So we need to hire lawyers. If we need to hire lawyers, let's hire lawyers. But if you're not going to act like a Republican, you don't need to have the R beside your name. And I can tell you, I totally believe in recalling. If you start acting like a bunch of yahoos, we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait. We can recall you. And if you do that to one or two of these people, guess what? Maybe they'll learn and start acting right.
Well, what skill set do you think personally that you bring to the Republican Party? You've touched on some of it, but what are the parts of your personality and the way you operate that you think can be the most beneficial to the party?
Well,
And
for one thing, I'm a straight shooter. I'm not going to pad what I'm saying, and I'm not in this to get a title, to get whatever, to be invited to the right parties. That's not. I don't care about that. What I care about is the people of Georgia. What I care about is us coming together as a unit. And I don't want to talk about unity, because I don't unify with people, I unify with principles. And we need to start unifying with principles that we can all agree on, like honesty, integrity, transparency, true transparency. And I think what I bring is, I've worked in the corporate world for over 27 years. I've had to facilitate and come up with business plans. I've been extremely successful. I've had multi-million dollar territories. I've helped run multi-million dollar corporations, and not just corporations that were within the state of Georgia, but they were multinational companies. So I'm very successful in doing that. I'm a very strategic thinker, and we need those kind of people, but we need people who are okay about standing up when it's uncomfortable. And we don't have that right now. And we've got to have those kind of people. So
So, give me your definition for success for the Georgia Republican Party. What would success look for you at the end of a year where you put in all the things that you'd wanted to do with the party? What would that success look like?
So if we're just talking 2025, if we look by the end of 2025 that we have training set up for all the county chairs on what success looks like. That we have a grassroots organization. We have to do something like Trump Force 47. If we're planning on winning 2026, we have a governor's race, we have attorney general, we have secretary of state, and but more importantly, we need to get rid of the Democrat in the Senate seat. And we can't do that if we don't have a grassroots organization. So if we are looking at the end of 2025 is that we have the training put together and we have the grassroots organization that is working on pushing our Republican candidates forward for 2026.
I think most Republicans know if they've been watching social media or been attuned to party politics, there's two tribes that have kind of divided based on the chairmanship election with Mr. Cross and Mr. McCoon. Um, do you affiliate with either one of those tribes, or are you neutral in all of this? Tell us where you stand.
So I know that people are trying to associate me with David Cross, just because I have been critical of Josh, and we can go into why I've been critical of him.
Sure, if you'd
But
like.
what I would like to do is I want the delegates to decide. I know it's kind of a weird concept, but I really do want the delegates to decide who they want as chairman, and whoever that is, I can work with them. I've had to work with very high level people in every healthcare industry, every hospital within the state of Georgia, so I can work with anybody. So I want to have who the delegates choose and then work for them however they need me to work.
Awesome. And, give us, getting back to where you are, give us one of your favorite childhood memories.
One of my favorite childhood memories was actually my dad. I'm going to go back to my dad. So when I was about 7 or 8, he let me stay home from school. And my dad was traveling salesman, very successful, and he took me to Morristown, Tennessee, and we stayed in a hotel. And I just thought it was great because I went with him to see his clients, and I was able to write up his orders. And I just felt so important because I was here with my dad. We spent the night, and we were in a hotel, and we ordered takeout. So it was a really special time for me and my dad. And I remember that so fondly, to feel that important and to kind of see what my dad did at work, because he would, go to work and I didn't know what he did, but it was a great experience for me. So yeah, that was a great memory for me.
And from the sound of it, you're a chip off the old block. So I think that probably was more meaningful than ever, because it sounds like you kind of propelled your destiny based on your experiences with your father. Very,
I
very
think so
heartwarming.
too.
Yeah,
I think so too.
very warming. Hey, is there anything that we haven't discussed, or anything that you would like to say that you want to tell the delegates who are going to be attending the state convention in June?
Well, I mean, one of the big things, I know that I've kind of touched on some of the things that are important to me. Election integrity. We need people that are going to be in the executive committee that's going to push forth Trump's agenda. And what I mean is that we need hand marked, hand counted ballots. That's really the only way we can have an audible election and for us to know who we voted for. Plus, we only need 1 day voting. We've talked about the accountability that we need. We've talked about 2026 being super important. So those are some of the things that I think are really important for this job. But more importantly, I really think the first vice chair actually needs a job. Currently, right now, we're supposed to work for the leisure of the chairman, but I really have a lot of things on my to-do list that I would love to put forth for us to do to make us more successful.
Very good. Hey, how can people keep up with what you're doing and your campaign leading into June? Is there a website, a Facebook page, anything like that?
Absolutely. My website is Lisa, the number four, GA.com. And then my X account is Lisa LP23. So
Awesome. Well, Lisa, it's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure. Thank you. I mean, it's been great to know you. You're my neighbor to the south. I'm over in Fayette County, and
Right.
thank you for joining us and taking the time. And we'll let you get back to the farm. And we wish you the best.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Hey, don't forget, we need you to like, subscribe, and share all these interviews and the short clips that we put out. We count on you to help us build this channel. Don't forget, we're one of the only podcasts that will allow you to do a 3-minute short clip on an issue that you are passionate about. Just send it to us at editorialinterchange.net and give us your pitch. And if we like it, we'll do a 3-minute short on our channel just for you. Thank you for watching, and visit us at editorialinterchange.net.